welcome to the Digital Academy Directors meeting for November 12th of 2025 into the chat. You'll see the links for attendance and to grab the slides. You can also see those in the top corner. If you're watching this at a later date, then I will have this in the notes for the video as well. All right, for today, pretty standard meeting. We have our welcomes and reminders. We're going to do some district share. We're light on vendor content. So I have just a few items out of that section. And then in our show and tell, we're going to dive into some of the new features that are available within Google Gemini. So with that, here are our welcome and reminders. First off, my name is Matthew Mays, a digital innovation consultant here at the Stark County ESC and at Spark. If you are new to this group and you would like to be a part of our mailing list, then you can contact me there and I'll make sure that you get added. Otherwise, we have all kinds of really great resources, and those can be found here on the Stark ESC Digital Academy Directors website, where you can find a full list of our previous meetings, including recordings. You can also find resource guides for most of the prominent products that are used within our area. And then you're also going to find some of the vendor series videos that we've done here in the past as well. In recent months, we had more of like an in-person version of those vendor meetings where we welcomed in School AI, and they presented in this very room to talk about their product and how you can utilize that within your district. So lots of really fun things happening here in the world of dads. These are our meeting dates for the year. You can see that we won't meet again until April. Usually the winter is kind of a dead zone for a lot of the products that we use. So I figured we might just skip that January meeting and just go straight to April. So those will be our 3 meetings for the year. All right. We are now going to slide into our district share and questions. Chris, do you want to just mention that one that we were talking about here before the meeting? And I popped it up in here just because I think that it's really interesting, but I think that can help a lot of people. Would you like to share about that one?
Sure. So yeah, we were just talking about how I've been taking some credits through OEA. You buy a subscription for $250 a year, and with that subscription, you can take 3 classes per year, one in the fall semester, one in the spring semester, and one in the summer. And those classes can be either 2 or 3 credits, so you can potentially take up to 9 credits per year. This is master's level of college credits for $250 a year, which is a pretty good deal. And so, yeah, I'm on my 4th class right now. You don't get teacher interaction. It's all just you're working on your own, do tests and essays, and then you submit it at the end and somebody grades it. And a few weeks later, you find out how you did. So if you want a lot of interaction, it might not be for you, but for the price, it's a really good deal, cheap way to get grad credits. I'm working on my master's plus 30, and I'm using that to get it. So at this point, I will have only spent like $500. Actually, the first time I did it was $200, and then they raised it to $250. So I've spent $450 so far, and that with some free classes I took at Malone over the summer. I'm almost to my, or I will almost be to my master's plus 30 for $450. So
which is crazy.
Nice.
Yeah. Yeah, but what a great benefit that I'm sure a lot of people don't know is even out there. So that's cool. Thank you for sharing that. I appreciate it.
Sure.
Anything else coming from your districts or any other questions that you might have at the moment? We are speeding through our meeting here this afternoon. For other questions that you may have, or if you want to engage other people who might be in similar spots, I would encourage you to attend our Leading for Learning meetings. Remember, this is a group that I help run. It is a collaborative group from people all over the state of Ohio. We meet on the third Wednesday of each month at 9 to just kind of talk about technology and what that looks like. We also have people from lots of our state organizations and instructional coaches and administrators. We get all kinds of people who attend those. Primary focus is on like the IT side of things and how we can all kind of work together to leverage those partnerships, as well as the classroom side of things, which is kind of where I come in. So just talking about some of the like new or innovative things that a person could do in their classroom. So a really great time, leaders from all over the state. And like I said, the state-run organizations that I think are just phenomenal too. So we always kind of get the inside track on the things that are coming. You can be one of those first people to know and share out. In terms of vendor updates for this month, you can see here the links for our most used products, and then just looking at who sent information. Edmentum sent out some information to me to make sure that we included here today. First is the digital curriculum toolkit. So if you click on that link, that's going to pop you out to their website where they have all of these little pieces and parts. It's just kind of a catch-all where they put all of their information. Other things, they have the inside the Indianapolis Public Schools Mastery Model of Credit Recovery, if that's something that your district is interested in. They also have just an article here about how skill trades create a path to success for Gen Z students. And then one that I happened upon while I was tinkering on their website was this top viewed resources page. So this is a really nice area that you can filter for. So I'm going to scroll down to the bottom here, and it says search our full resource library. You'll notice that underneath product, they have all of their products listed. So you can search for any of the ones that your district might be using. Rather than just kind of searching across the entire website, you can really shrink things down to just those individual products. So lots of really nice filters there over on the side page to find all the resources that Edmentum has to offer. Okay, are there any other updates that you've seen come through? Anything new or noteworthy?
Did Edmentum mention anything about Apex being fully integrated now? Or?
I haven't heard anything.
I did get an email, that they acquired Major Clarity. You know, are you familiar with it? Not either.
So can you speak to, do you know like what it
I
is?
just got the email, it says I'm thrilled to share exciting news and then I has acquired Major Clarity, a leading platform that helps students turn career discovery into academic and post-secondary plans. So, yeah, she just sent this to me and I said, well, I'll ask about it. I haven't heard of it.
Yeah, I don't know that I've heard about it either, but I found it and we'll include it here. That's kind of the name of the game, right? You saw how many things were over on that side filter. I think it was one of those, as we were thinking in terms of like, oh, well, school is just online now during, the pandemic. And now schools are gravitating back and companies are like, we don't necessarily know what to do, or they're much smaller. So it's much easier to grab some of those smaller segments to fold them under a few of the majors. So I included it here in our notes too. But yeah, I mean, I think that's kind of a growing trend, is the cannibalization of, that's it. Like, I know I always put the like this up, but it's not as fragmented as what this seems like. There's only a few major players, I think, that are still left in the space, and obviously ones that we gravitate toward.
When everyone was forced to go online, all different kinds of avenues for our kids, and
Sure
so
did.
many of our teachers they utilize Google Classroom like they never did before.
Right.
Weren't even familiar with it.
Yep.
And I have a student that just went online, and he's opting to have his teachers finish out the semester versus doing anything with an online platform, which is probably a good thing because the curriculum isn't interrupted. Yeah, that's one positive thing that came out of COVID. I think our teachers really adjusted well.
In the course of months,
Yeah.
we probably rocketed forward in terms of skills by like 3 years.
And we had to, so
Yeah.
it wasn't a choice.
Correct. Correct. I remember talking to, I was still in district then. And I remember talking to a person at the Massillon Independent. And I was like, "Look, please understand that like, this is terrible, that everything that is happening in the world is terrible. But like for what I do, like I could never have asked for this kind of like skill development at this rapid of a pace, you know, with being forced to do it, you know, with something like this. Yeah.
I'll do it at the end. So,
Yeah, but honestly, like in my estimation, it would have taken me probably 3 years to get people on board to actually start using those things with, you know, with fidelity.
Yeah.
So wild time we lived in, we'll be able to say back in my day, we used to do.
I still remember the line all the way around the grocery store, like
Yeah,
the whole perimeter of the grocery store.
Yeah.
What is going on?
yeah, it was bonkers. Yeah, it's bonkers. Well, for our show and tell today, this is typically my section that I have lots of fun things to share with you. So today we are going to dive into some of the new features and really just some of the new thoughts behind generative AI as it pertains to Gemini. If you remember, Gemini is Google's AI product. And I'm mentioning them specifically because they, Google has put Gemini in their core services. That's really important for us in schools because now, you know, we're thinking about Senate Bill 29 and we're thinking about data privacy agreements and we're thinking about, you know, keeping our students' data safe. And as a result of Google moving Gemini into their core services, we now know that Gemini has the same data protections as, you know, docs, slides, sheets, everything in your, you know, your Gmail, you know, a bunch of other products that are across the board. But now you have that same level of security with all of your conversations in Gemini. So essentially, you know, in other products like ChatGPT, we know that they are sharing your data. We know that they are using your conversations to teach their product or to teach their models. And Gemini is not doing that in the education space. So there's a huge difference for me and my usage and where I go or what tools that I use. And so that's where like I've started to gravitate toward that, not necessarily like comparison wise or because I like it, what it generates better, just because I know that I have that data protection. I think that's really important for us here in this K-12 space. So I wanted to start here because they put out this new acronym that I really like, I think is very clever. And typically in the past, I've been saying like there's 3 major parts to any prompt or to any conversation that you're starting with AI. Tell it who it is, tell it what you want, and then include all the extra details. Well, Google has put out their recommendations using this acronym of parts. So you'll see those first 2 there. The persona is basically who you want the AI to assume, or like the brain that you want it to think with. A is for meaning like, what do you want it to do? Be very specific there. And then they've broken up that third portion into 3 different parts, the R, T, and S, the recipient, the theme, and the structure. So essentially, tell it specifically who the recipient is going to be of this item. So if that is, you know, obviously us in this K-12 space, then say the type of student that you are hoping to produce this item for. Tell it the theme, meaning, you know, is this, where is this in a lesson? What does this actually look like, you know, in terms of comparing to other topics that might be similar? And then last is that structure. So like, what do you want the generation to look like? Do you want bullets? Tell it. Do you want 5 bullets? tell it that you want 5 bullets. If you want a particular word count, say that. If you're looking for it to put it into a table or a lesson plan or any other thing, make sure that you are giving it those pieces and parts as a part of your prompt as well. So I think this is very clever. I've started to shift to this, not necessarily because it's drastically different from what I was doing, but I really like the visual up top as well. It's very easy for us to connect those colors and to make sure that we have all the parts when we are doing our prompting. So I say all of that to say, Google has put out this resource here in the center. This is 100 ways to use Gemini and Notebook LM. And what I've done is I've tried to give you a few things that I think are important about this document, or a few things that you might want to dig into. Okay, this is a Google slide deck, just like every other, except this was created by the developers of Gemini. So I know we touched on this a little bit in our last meeting, but I wanted to kind of dig into a few of these slides a little bit deeper. You'll see on slide 14, this is that same table that I just had on that previous slide where it's talking to us about those various parts. And then each slide from then on is basically like a prompt library. So now I can go in and say like, okay, I'm in a planning phase where this is the purpose for me coming to utilize Gemini. Let's say that I wanted to create a lesson. Okay, I can use this prompt as like a tutorial if I wanted to, but you'll notice that these are underlined. If you click on that underlined text, it's going to jump you out into Gemini where that prompt has already been built in. So this is a great way to kind of test things, to essentially see like, okay, if I put a prompt in like this, then I could expect to receive something back that looks like that. So a really great opportunity for you to see basically the capabilities of Gemini. You'll notice I have some quick buttons here as well, such as this one here that says export to sheets. So in one click, I can export that out. You'll notice that I have this image that was now sourced for me that can go along with this. And then as I scroll and I make my way down, I can see other pieces and parts of this material. And the thing that I've really been keen on lately is asking in my prompt to basically like have the tool coach me through, or to ask me questions that it thinks I should be thinking about, so that it is making those things on my behalf. Because I'm sure there are many times where like, something just didn't cross my mind, or if it's, if we're thinking about an interaction between myself and another individual, they are going to have other thoughts and ideas that are really important that, are going to contribute to the conversation. So I want to ask my tool here, Gemini, to have that similar experience. So ask me the things that you think I should be thinking about to then put in. So I always like at the end here where it says something, similar to, would you like for me to elaborate on the assignment or assessment criteria? Or perhaps suggest a follow-up lesson, like what else do you want to do here? So a really nice way that you can have this collaborative partner. So that's just one example. But as we dip back into our slide deck here, you'll see that it talks about all kinds of different areas of, thinking of reasons why we might want to use Gemini in education. So you can see these little colors up here in the top shift with each kind of brain shift for why you might want to use that. Now, I'm going to click here on 32 because this is where they start to discuss some of the extra features that are available within Gemini. So things like deep research. When you're using Gemini, you'll notice, I'm sure this is where you put your prompt in. They are building in some of these quick buttons down here at the bottom, but these are really just shortcuts for doing the same things as clicking tools. So you'll notice there's a lot of overlap here where deep research, I could click here, deep research, I could click this little button. Create images, I could do there, create image, I can do here. This is the hallmark of Google, where there are usually like 3 or 4 ways to do the exact same thing within the product. That's really what these little click buttons are for. So within deep research, if we jump back here to our presentation, this is a way that we can get really granular with a certain topic. So if you know that you are going to, teach a certain concept or, work in a certain area with your students, then maybe you bring in some of this deep research work to help you compile sources or to help you really understand the thing that you are about to teach. And I want to highlight over here on the right how now I can see like it basically is telling me, hey, I'm researching these websites in order to find this information. So those are great opportunities for you to use those as like jumping off points or use those as places to send your students to learn even more about whatever the topic is that you're trying to accomplish. So the one reason why I like this presentation so much is that they give you the examples then. So here is a deep research example that you could put into Gemini. This one here is, just kind of asking you to summarize these as you are supporting or asking it to basically be a supporting faculty member here for your research. So that's really cool. Goes into a little bit more where deep research is going to allow you to do some other things like have some audio overviews. It gives you the ability to download those and share those out into like docs, which is becoming more universal inside of the tool as well. So a lot to love here with our deep research. Okay, next on slide 38, we get guided learning. This is a really great opportunity to kind of follow along with the tool as you are learning different things. So you'll notice here in this example, it says, hey, help me with this homework problem. So essentially, this is an opportunity to allow the tool to be kind of like a little co-teacher here. It's going to ask you some questions. It's going to provide some information to you, but it's much more than just you ask me a question or you given me a prompt. Here is all the information. Ta-da, we're done. This guided learning piece is going to walk you through all of the important details of whatever that concept might be. And so again, to get that, I'm just going to choose tools and then choose guided learning. So if you are in a grade level where you feel like your students can benefit from this, then that might be an opportunity for you to use guided learning. Also think about this as a whole class. So maybe you're exploring some topic together. You could start up a conversation with each new class period or with each group of students to then have the tool kind of walk it along. So you get some more in-depth information on slide 39, as well as some examples then on 40 and 41. Okay, the one that I really want to highlight in this section here is Canvas. Okay, Canvas is basically the tool that is going to allow you to create items that you would have already created like within your Google Drive. So with Canvas, you can do all kinds of things now, including create flashcards, including having that partner work alongside you with a Google Doc. So it'll create the Google Doc for you. And as you are asking for modifications, you will actually see those happen in the Google Doc on the right. You'll notice that it can also do coding for you as well. So you would get that inside of Canvas. But the most recent addition that is something that I think we've all been sort of clamoring for is the ability to create Google slide decks. And so that is now available inside of Gemini, meaning you can have it create a slide deck for you and then export it out directly into slides. This is just a really silly example that I did. I said, create a presentation on notable children's movies of the 80s, 90s, and 2000s. And it then went through and created this for me. Just like every other slide deck, just like every other conversation, I can go in and change and modify and manipulate the things that I'm seeing. So I could choose to do that here inside of my conversation on the left. I could export that out to slides and then work with it just like every other Google slide deck that I've ever utilized. So as an example, you'll see on this slide, like Finding Nemo has a little fish icon that's orange. Harry Potter has a little magic wand icon that, is orange, but for whatever reason, Shrek doesn't have one. So if I wanted to over here on the side, I could say something like on slide 10, give an icon for Shrek, make it, I'm trying to even think back to Shrek, make it a princess icon, make it a donkey icon, make it, whatever you wanted, something that would tip off to fit with the rest of it. So just because it doesn't appear here on the side doesn't mean that you can't get it to do that. I also want you to know that you can feed it information. So in my prompt, I could have said, instead of just notable children's movies of the 80s, 90s, and 2000s, I could have said, specific movies that I was hoping to target. I could have scripted it even more and said, these are the topics that I want you to cover. On slide 1, I wanted to say this. On slide 2, I wanted to say that. Here's a resource that I've done in the past, and upload that using the plus sign. That's down here in the corner to add my own files. I could do all of those things to seamlessly bring all of this together. So you'll notice I'm currently looking at this inside of Gemini, but it's very easy for you to just hit this export to slide button, where then it will create it in Google Slides, just like every other Google slide deck that you could share with students, families, whoever you see fit. So I really like that new feature. In the past, we, have had to basically allow the tools to create the content, and then we would have to go and copy and paste the information into the slide. And so this is kind of the evolution of that, of now, it's doing everything for us. So becoming even smarter in that regard, which is really cool. So those are free. Your ability to export out into slides or to have it create the slide deck, that's available to every version of Google Workspace for Education. If it isn't in your domain yet, it's coming. They're currently undergoing their rollout. So I just got it last Wednesday. So if you don't have it yet, then know that it's coming.
So when you say,
No, go ahead, please.
so when you say Gemini for Education, that's the only thing that would be secure as far as student data or anything like that. So regular Gemini would not be. Is that what
So
you're saying?
if I'm using Gemini with my school account, then I know that my information is or has the same level of protection as my Google Drive items, as my docs, my slides, my sheets, as my Gmail, right? So all of those data protections are the same as what you would experience with Gemini and with Notebook LM. That's a piece of it too.
So I went into Gemini and I'm logged in on my school account and I said, is this the Gemini for Education or is this the standard Gemini? And it said, this is the standard that's open to everyone, not Gemini for Education.
Right. But on the dashboard on the back end, you are in a separate bucket. So if you think about, accounts in terms of domains or in terms of buckets, any conversation that you have that's on your school domain is, partitioned off so that you don't have to worry about, being used for any other purpose or for making it
So
out.
Gemini just didn't know really what bucket it was in.
Yeah. Yep.
Is there a limit to the number of slide decks you can make per day?
That's a great question.
Images or-
Great question. Let me look real quick. I know that there's a conversation limit, but it's astronomical. It's not something that you would ever hit in a normal day. But it kind of protects it against bots, basically. I don't see that number, but I will look it up to see if I can
It's
find
not a
it.
big deal. I was just curious.
Yeah, I'm sorry. So other items that you may be interested in, you also have the ability to do flashcards in here and to take these out of Gemini, you, in most cases, need to have the code. So it would really be something like this on the back end. This is what is making the flashcards. So in terms of like giving this over to students, you would want to take this code and then embed it in like a Google site or in a different website that you might be using, so that when students see it, it looks more like this. So this is a really terrible example. I basically just said, hey, I need a slide deck to help my 3-year-old learn zoo animals. So it then created this slide deck for me that, you know, I can go through and see all the different animals. I asked it down here on the side to add additional Gemini features, because like there are things that it can do that I don't really know, you know, what that full list is. And so it basically said, hey, when we, you know, create this slide deck, do you also want a fun fact button? Like, sure, tell me a fun fact about every animal. At the time, it was like, do you want a sound effect button? And it put that sound effect in there as well. Now, I found that to be a little bit buggy. So I asked it to take it out, but know that's available. Now, you'll notice over here on the side, I've gone a couple different rounds with this one, mostly because I found that the images weren't matching up. So where it was sourcing its images, it was having some trouble with it. So basically it has gone through, I think, 2 or 3 different ones, and it's still not perfect. So like I'm going to click on giraffe, and obviously we're looking at, you know, what looks like a police dog. So I'm going to have to continue this conversation, I think, to ask it to find a different one. So know that, but the tools are still getting better, you know, and you may run into things. So it's still okay to ask it to change, ask it to modify, you know, try your best with it until it gets to the point that you are ready to use. So here's some further instructions on how to use Canvas. You'll see some, you know, some of those clickable prompts for you that you can utilize, as well as, you know, some of these ones here for various topics. So I really like the moves that they're making there. I think they make a lot of sense. Now, in terms of other items, I want to just mention something that I think we touched on briefly at our last meeting, and that is Gemini being baked directly into Google Classroom. So you'll see here on this page, this is my Google Classroom, and over here on the left side panel, I have the word Gemini. When I select it, it is taking me to a page still within Classroom, but it is taking me to a page where I am now seeing all of these helpful educator-based gems. And so that's really what's going on here. And gems is the next section of this slide deck here, where they get into not only what might they be used for, but also how you can create your own. So think of gems as basically a prompt or a protocol that you might do very frequently. So instead of starting up a new conversation every time, you can basically kind of create this little shortcut for yourself where the prompt is already baked in or some other sequence is already being considered. And that's really what we're looking at here inside of Classroom. Now, when I look at this, I see in my mind's eye something very similar to like Magic School, which we've talked about in the past, or Teacher Server, which we've talked about in the past. This is basically Google kind of like dipping their toes into that water to make shortcuts for educators to create things on a very similar level. So if you knew that you wanted to, let's say, create a choice board, and I see that one here. Let's say I wanted to build a choice board. All I would have to do is click that little button. It pops me in here where now I don't necessarily have to worry about having a proper prompt because all that stuff is baked in behind the scenes. I just have to, fill in these blanks. So let's say that my target grade is 7, and then my topic here, let's just see, I saw property of waves. So let's say that that's what I wanted. Now I could upload relevant materials from Drive. So maybe it's something that I've done in the past. I don't have that for this example. So I'm going to hit generate learning objectives, and it's going to create some learning objectives for me for this assignment. Remember that these are fully editable. So I could come in here and I could change these if I want to. For this example, I'm just going to leave it alone. And then I'm going to hit the word generate. So I've given this very little information. I could have given it a lot more to create something much more robust. But what we are now looking at is a choice board that is ready to go for my class. Now you'll notice here, like these are pretty long, like this one's going to take 2 hours. This one's 90 minutes, right? I have a pretty long list of activities. And if I wanted to, I could come back in and kind of edit these details. So all I did was I clicked this little arrow up here in the top to expand. I get regenerate and I get edit details. I can come back in and fix those if I wanted to. But I now have like these really wonderful activities that I could be doing with my students. And from here, you'll see that there are buttons, that, 2 buttons that are identical, just in 2 different locations. Export to docs, add to class. Same thing down here, export to docs, add to class. So when you get this item where you would like for it to be, then you could choose to export this out, and it's going to create it as a Google Doc, just like every other Google Doc that you have ever used. You'll notice that now I have this choice board ready to go. The text in here is now fully editable by me. So I can come in here and change up wording. I can maybe break these apart into smaller segments. Like let's say I don't have 90 minutes to give. Maybe I want it to, be something different. I can modify and manipulate these just like every other Google Doc that I've ever created. I also get the ability to add this item to a class or to specific classes with one click. So you'll notice I just click add to class. I get this little pop-up here. So I'm going to go down and choose my practice class, and then I get to pick directly what kind of classwork this is going to be. So let's say this is an assignment. I'm going to confirm, and it is now exporting that out into this space, which is my assignment area for my practice ESC course, where I have all the other bells and whistles and every other thing that Google Classroom has to offer. So I can name this item, I can add further instructions, I can use, this is that doc that was created by me just now. I pick students can view the file, but perhaps I want to change that to make a copy for each student. And I can do things in here just the same as what I would expect to do in Google Classroom normally. So having all of these buttons, I think, is such a time saver, and for us to be able to connect that or to keep it in this Gemini space that we know is safe for us to use, I think is really, really nice. Now, we also know that like School AI, Magic School, they have signed the data privacy agreement, so you can still use those products with confidence. But if you're looking to connect up all of your pieces together into one ecosystem, then this is a really nice option. Notice here in these gems how some of them have little icons and some of them have the Gemini logo, that little star. Any tool that you see here with the little star means that this conversation is going to pop you out to Gemini to use. So let's say that I wanted to develop a unit plan. When I select it, it's going to actually open up Gemini for me with a really robust prompt already built. And now all I have to do is just answer some questions. So basically the prompt is already, spelled out everything that I'm looking for and that I'm trying to create this unit. And now all I have to worry about is it says, to start, can you tell me a little bit about your goal with this unit? Once it has that information, then it's going to move into this part. It says basically, if you need me to elaborate more, ask me one additional question to personalize the unit plan, right? Like we are basically telling the tool, ask me these questions so that I can, have a really good experience here. So if nothing else, if you take nothing else out of this section, I really want you to pay attention to the prompt that Classroom has generated for us, because this is a really robust prompt, something that I think we could all learn from, myself included. So I really, really like that too. Now, there are lots of other gems here within Google Classroom, but this is not exclusive, right? We don't have to just go to Classroom to use these gems. We can find or create them on our own as well. So I'm going to expand my menu here on the left. This is just Gemini, just like every other instance. It's just gemini.google.com. And over here on the left, I see my gem panel. So I can see Storybook, which we talked about last time. That's one where you can use, Gemini. It's going to create pictures of Storybook that'll read to you. I see Writing Editor and Learning Coach and Lesson Plan Creator. And then I see a button down here that says Explore Gems. So when I select Explore Gems, I get the ability to see even more gems. Notice that these are more specific to Gemini. I do not see the same gems that I saw over here in Classroom, right? So if you want these like more teacher-based ones, you would have to, at least at the moment, you would have to come to Classroom to select Gemini to find those tools, or you would have to create your own gem that's down here with this blue button. So you'll notice any gems that you create would appear here. And then if you have clicked on gems from other people in the past, then those would be in this shared with me area. You'll notice that several of my shared with me's all come from the same place. And I'm going to pop back over to our base deck here for just a second and show you a brand new resource from our good friend Eric Kurtz. This is EduGems. And so he has gone through and created a lot of the gems that we are after, specifically targeting things that we do here in education. So he has gone through and created some of his own. You'll also notice up here at the top, he would like your input. So if you are creating gems and you have ones that you think should be shared, then you could submit this Google form and then Eric can add those to the website as well. So a really great place to find even more of these gems to work with. So you'll see some overlap in the ones that Google Classroom has done for you, but this is a really great opportunity to see basically like what else can AI do for me. So if we wanted to play this 2 truths and a lie EduGem, I would just have to click use this gem. And then it's going to pop me out into Gemini where I can now start it. So you'll notice that for most of these gems at the moment, you have to prompt it or you have to almost like poke it to begin running. So generally you just say something like hi or hello, and then it starts running through its protocol. So this one here says, welcome to our game. Please let me know what topic you would like the game to focus on and what grade level your students are in. So let's say my students are in 5th grade and they want to, let's say focus on basketball. Okay, so I can select that and then it's going to generate some basketball facts for me, where then we would have to pick out in this example 2 truths and a lie. So great, it's a fun topic. Here are 3 statements about basketball for your 5th graders. Have them discuss which one they think is the lie. Take your time, let me know which statement A, B, or C you think is the lie. So we can put those into here, and then it will then continue to give me these examples, which is really fun. So let's say, I think in this instance, I think B is my lie. And like I said, it's going to pop through and basically adjudicate how we did. Ta-da, that is the lie. Here is, some more learning about it. Here are those statements, like that was really fun. Do you want to play again? Do you want to, go somewhere else? It is all baked into the system. So basically, I just get to, experience this really wonderful tool that, has already been created, or the students get to experience this. And, we all get to benefit. So back here on this page, you'll notice that there's an extra link here. It says make your own copy. So if you hit gem link, you'll notice that now I am taken behind the scenes where I am trying to create my own version of this. So this is an opportunity for you Let's say this isn't just two truths and a lie. Let's say this is like lesson plan creator. You could go through and like provide materials to the tool. So you can be more specific with your classroom. You can add your own items. So like down here in knowledge, it says add files for your gem to reference. You can hit this plus sign, and that will then allow you to put in maybe your standards list. Maybe it's lessons that you've done in the past. So you can say follow this similar format, whatever that might be. You have all of that waiting for you. So a really great opportunity to learn more about GEMS and what those GEMS are capable of doing for you. Back here in this slide deck, if this is the first time that you're hearing about GEMS, know that it walks you through basically all of those same little protocols that we just talked about. And, it's really fun to do. It's something that you can change and modify. So if you notice that it's not necessarily giving you the outputs that you're hoping for, then you can come in here and, fix up your prompts a little bit, or at least get some coaching here to fix up your prompts as you are considering what GEMS to create. Okay. Any questions on Gemini, on the things it is capable of doing for you at this moment? Go ahead.
When I've used GEMS before, I've created them, but I can't share them unless there's money involved. Either I buy the pro version, or the person who I want to share it with has to buy the pro version or something. So is this because we're in the education version that you don't have to pay, or did Eric pay when he created those? Or
No, they should be open and available to everybody. So I'm going to pop back over here to Eric's page.
no, I tried them and they work. So
Yeah. They basically, like, I'm going to look right here at this section. It says, before you begin interacting with any of his GEMS, change up that model to 2.5 Flash or 2.5 Pro. We get certain benefits as like education users that normal, Joe Internet, Jane Internet, they don't get access to. So, the ability to do like slide decks is a new feature that they're pushing out to schools. We see like those flashcards, like they're always thinking about educators in the background. Very cynically, I always think of Google as having, like, for lack of a better phrase, like a cradle to the grave strategy. I think we've talked about that before too, where basically if I can hook kids, or Google's thinking, if they can hook kids early as Google users, then when they grow up to be adults, they're going to be Google users, and that's the thing that they're going to use. So if they create tools or make it so easily accessible now for educators, we are going to use those tools with our kids. Those kids are going to continue to use those tools, and then they're going to go out into the workforce asking for these Google tools. And now Google gets to stay relevant, which is, it's very smart. I know that's kind of a cynical look at what they do, but that's what they have done. That's why Chromebooks are as affordable as they are. They're no dummies. We'll say that.
Yeah, definitely work with their search engine. Like, people just say, I'm going to Google it now. But I remember when there were lots of options for search engines.
That's right.
Now it's just pretty much.
You don't hear people asking Jeeves anymore, or going to Dogpile.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, very silly. Okay, other things that are in this slide deck that I think you should know about. If you scroll to slide 60, it begins talking about Notebook LM. And if you'll remember, Notebook LM is essentially a version or a carve out of Gemini in which you are the developer behind the scenes. You're the one that gets to basically say, I want you to know all of these things. Let's create some conversations, or let's create some materials here about this one individual topic. So I'm going to bring up this notebook here. This is one that a friend of mine, Joey Bell, he's the head boys cross country coach at Perry, where I used to teach and coach. And basically Joey has access to like every piece of data for the Perry cross country program going back to 1970. So like things from the yearbook, like runner logs, results pages, all kinds of stuff that he has then packed into these various notebooks, into these various PDFs, and then has put them into these notebooks. You get the ability to add like pretty much any file that you would normally run into. So, PDFs, obviously, we just saw anything from your Google Drive, websites, YouTube videos, copy paste items. Like you can really flesh this thing out with all kinds of information. Essentially, you get 50 items or 50 sources that you can use to teach your individual notebooks. And from there, you can have normal conversations just like what you would with Gemini. You can ask it any of the questions that you want to. But for us in this educator space, I think the benefit is really over here in Studio. We've talked about some of these features before, but they've added some new ones. So new for our meeting today is video overview. This link here, I've already done one, so I'm going to bring that one up, where basically this is, if you've used Vids in the past, which is now in your Google Drive, this is kind of like a supercharged version of Vids. Vids is like a supercharged version of Google Slides that will help you to make video. So all I did was I clicked the button and I said, hey, I would like a video on this. And then it has gone through to create this video in this example about the Perry High School cross-country team. Dating back
or
all the way
XC,
to
is basically a 5K race. That's 3.1 miles, usually over grass, hills, tough terrain.
Right.
To understand this team's whole philosophy, strategy, and pure effort.
Right.
And while winning, it's about to move on.
Into some of our materials.
But the next week at regionals,
get these charts and tables and things that were created on my behalf.
Entire,
it's actually going into the data to pull out specific performances for students. It's really robust. So, this is a really great opportunity to create even more materials for your classroom. I see the share button here. I also see the download button. So if I wanted to take this video and put it up into YouTube, that would be the way I could go about doing it. Share is going to allow me to share it across my domain. So at the moment, I can't send it to somebody outside of my email domain. At the moment, it's only for your shared space. So on top of video overview, we now have flashcards. So if you wanted to see some of these flashcards, you can, click through, and then when you click on them, it actually flips itself over. You can make this part bigger if you wanted to. So now I'm working with my, students. It brings up these questions and we can all work on these things together. Similar to those videos, sharing those out would have to be done by sharing the notebook within the domain. So your mileage may vary there depending on what you're looking for. You also get the audio overview, which I know we've discussed before. That's basically where there are two people who are discussing your topic as if it were a podcast. I also have Quiz available. Quiz is going to create those questions and answers for you. And I was looking to see if I had one created for me, and I don't think I do. And then last, we have this mind map. So mind map is going to help you connect the dots between the information that you have submitted and some of the key points. So you'll notice that this is like a clickable little interactive space where now I can, kind of see these connections and make all of these connections to the content. So a really fun way to see your data and to understand the things that have been created for you. I can see my quiz here is still generating, so I'm going to give that a second to see it. It will continue to pop. But like I said, if for nothing else, you can treat this just the same as every other conversation you've had with Gemini, where you can start typing questions. You'll see down here that it's giving you some of these questions that maybe you would want to consider. And it just helps you to continue that conversation and get things rolling. So here's an example of that quiz. You'll notice that when I click the right button, there we go, that these are clickable within here. And then it even gives me a little hint where it is directing me to certain things that I've uploaded. So it's knowledge based. So like in this one, it says, hey, review the summary of the final week of the season in week 11 in the scrapbook excerpt. So now if I were to go to the scrapbooks, then I could find that answer. If I'm not mistaken, he did really well. So I'm going to guess B, not quite. So it was the right answer here was D. So again, just one more area to help you create things for your class to allow the AI tool to kind of take that over. If you have not used Notebook LM and you're interested in using it more, this is just that 100 ways to use Gemini in education doc where it spells out everything. So, everything you could ever want to know about Notebook LM all baked into to these slides.
The video is a recent addition, right?
Very
It
recent.
wasn't just a podcast.
Yep.
Before.
Yep, very recent. Okay, so that kind of wraps up this area. I know we didn't talk about Nano Banana. That's basically Gemini's image creation tool. So you have the ability to do that now in the educator ecosystem. Like if you need images created, that's a very safe place to go and do it. You don't have to worry about it generating something really wild that wouldn't be appropriate for your students to see. And like I said, you still have those data protections in place. So if you wanted to base it off of a certain photo, then you could be able to create that with confidence.
I don't think any of like ChatGPT or generate great stuff even outside the education space. But
Most of them are pretty good. There is one that I used to use that was pretty lawless. So yeah, stick to some of the majors. I think that's one area that, like, as a society, we are pushing back on. Like, we don't like this. We don't want it to make it look like, pictures. If I upload a picture that person or that thing is actually occurring when it didn't happen. So I'm glad that is receiving pushback. Our movies and our television industries, like, they are really happy to see that pushback too. So hopefully that continues. All right, other things that I thought were notable for this meeting, a really great article came through. This is TCEA. This is a blog that they have called Tech Notes. And this is an article basically coaching you through the process of, can I upload that or not? And it kind of goes through basically like, what if you find this really great document? What if you have this really great text? What are you and are you not allowed to do? I like to think of it, the way that they're describing it here too is like, this is a gray area. There is no like hard and fast like laws behind any of this. But ethically, what should we be looking at? What is, the thing that we want to send over to our students? So that article I really like. And then just another piece that came through that I thought was really wild. This is from Common Sense Media. And this is from a recent email that they had. This piece of research is titled Buying to Belong, and it just kind of discusses the online ecosystem that was created by students and kind of like a haves and have-not community based on what students are able to acquire in some of their favorite, games, tools, things like that. So this goes into a lot of that research. Things that aren't necessarily in our control, right? Like, we're not necessarily telling our kids that they need to go on and play Roblox at home, or that they need to go into, whatever particular game is. But these are things that we need to consider as our kids are, coming into our school ecosystems. Those things that are happening at home, obviously always, kind of bleed into our space as well. So something as silly as, one student being able to buy a certain piece of armor or, a certain piece of clothing inside of a game, means something or signals something to everybody else of, kind of creating those in crowds. So no longer is it just, in the real world, or I have this thing and you don't. Now that's one more element that is being brought into the conversation of like, kids needing to or feeling the need to purchase things in this online space in order to belong as well. Other questions, other resources, other things that you would like to share?
What's Google's policy for like content creators just generating video with Notebook LM and then just posting that to YouTube and using that as a way, like an income stream to, like, they just create the thing with Notebook LM, turn around and put it right back on YouTube.
Yeah,
It's
so,
also owned by Google.
right.
And do they have a policy for that?
Right, so this is, I would put this in the area, at the conversation right now is all about AI slop. And so, YouTube, like Pinterest, I'm trying to think of one other. There's one other that's just being absolutely flooded with AI slop.
YouTube Shorts.
Yes, tons. And so I don't think there are any regulations on it. But the difference is, and it's funny you bring that up, in the same blog post where Buying to Belong came, there were a couple other research articles that basically talk about the creators or the most prominent creators and the social contract that has been created by them with their viewers. So I don't really get into this space, but I know who Mr. Beast is at least.
Yeah.
So let's say that Mr. Beast's new video is Notebook LM generated. Now his viewers who have come to expect a certain thing see this version instead and feel as though that's like a breach of trust almost, that this isn't real, this isn't coming from him, this isn't what I would expect from him. And how our students, our kids are basically seeing that and like being really turned off by it, which again, if we're looking for signs of hope for the future, that's one of them. Like that is encouraging. But there are so many users who are out there, that don't care, that are just looking for an answer, and they happen upon those videos and, are getting information, misinformation. I think we've talked previously in the past, one of the sessions that I do quite a bit at conferences is all about information pollution, and not even the ideas of, or not just the ideas of misinformation being out there, but just like the sheer volume of information that is out there that we're currently being bombarded with, in every space. And so I don't think there are regulations per se, but with the amount of content that is currently available, the ability for somebody to break through just by posting videos from Notebook LM is probably not very high.
Just curious.
Yeah.
Yeah, I know, I read somewhere about like teachers are using like ChatGPT and stuff a lot more to grade papers, not just kids using it. And so you think like a lot of kids are probably generating their papers with ChatGPT, and then the teachers are grading the papers with ChatGPT.
And so we're actually passing between
Nobody's
years.
ever generating anything or reading anything. It's all just ChatGPT talking to itself.
Mhm.
I know, crazy.
Yes. And disheartening.
Yeah.
All right, well, other items for today, I think that pretty much wraps it up. But if you have other topics that you would like to discuss, please pass those my way. That makes my job much easier if you say, I want to talk about this, because then we can just create those things. So if you have ideas of those topics, then please pass them along. Okay, big news out of my office this week. We are officially announcing our dates for the High Impact Conference for Educators. Most of the buildings that we work with, they are out of school early this year. So we made the choice to slide up our conference to June 2nd and 3rd. This is going to be at Uniontown Lake Middle High School. And the call for proposals is also open. So in the speaker notes area of this slide, I'm going to pop back out for a little bit, but in the speaker notes area of this slide, there's a link to submit your own proposal. So when my screen decides to catch up, there we go. You can now submit your own proposals. That's just bit.ly/HEISPresent26. So if there's something interesting that you have to share, or if you know of someone who might have something interesting to share, then we would love to have you. Remember, or at least take note, I didn't say it was like the best thing that you had to share, right? Just even something interesting, no matter how big or how small, we can work with you to help make sessions for the conference. So everybody has something fun that every other educator can benefit from. And we like having a wide array of sessions available at the conference. So if there's something you're thinking about, then please feel free to let me know. Other things, OETC just closed their submissions for presenting, and I think they let everybody know like last week or the week before of those presentations that will happen in February. So if you'll remember, OETC is partnering or merging with the Ohio Google Conference as well. So, or the Google Summit. And so now that's going to be one big thing new for this year. They're adding the lesson labs, they're adding Fred Talks, and they're adding Flash Talk. So a lot of fun coming to OETC if you are heading down there in February. Okay, other meetings that I want you to know about. This is GEG Ohio that's run by our good friend Eric. The next meeting is December 2nd. That kind of fits for December and November. Just the way that the dates fell this year and kind of the amount of things that change in those 2 months, that'll just be the meeting for both of those. They're virtual, they're at 1 o'clock, usually last about 2 hours, but give all of the updates. They also record those, so if you can't make it live, you can always watch the recording after. All right. Other than that, that is our meeting for today. Remember, you have that link to our website should you need anything. And then our next meeting is not until April. You always have the ability to go onto our message boards, right, in Google Groups to ask questions should something pop up. Typically for our products, it's kind of a dead zone here in the winter. But if something really crazy comes about, then I'll be sure to pass that along to all of you.
Okay.
All right. All right. Thank you for watching. If you're watching this recording after, thank you to you guys for coming in here and watching it live as well.